everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of Beer Sweden Television. I'm doing actually my first ever Skype collab tasting, and with me I've got Peter. Some of you may know him. If you don't, this is part of the exercise we're going to do. We're going to merge our communities together, aren't we, Peter? Peter is the Master of Hoppets, actually, over there in Denmark, and I think it's probably fair to say, Peter, you're the most sort of prolific video blogger or beer video blogger in the country. Is that right?
I'm actually the only one.
Oh, you're the only one. See, I built you up, and you're the only one. But you've been, I think it's about 500 episodes, actually. You've just sort of crashed through the 500 episode barrier.
Reached past the 500 episode mark.
Cool. Well, listen, I'm a mere child compared to you then, because I think I'm on about 107 or 108, so I've got a lot to learn. But listen, guys, this is what we're going to do. This is pretty cool, and this is very new to me, so I'm hoping this is going to work out. But basically, Peter got his hands on a bottle of Swedish beer, actually. If you can show it up there, Peter, and we can show everyone what we're going to be getting our teeth into in a minute. Nils Oscar, there we go. Look, we're thousands of miles apart, but we're actually going to share the same beer. Nils Oscar with its Hop Yard IPA. It's a beer, actually, that I reviewed on the blog a little while ago, but I'm still pretty stoked to be able to try it again. And basically, we're going to open it together, we're going to try it together, and we're going to see what happens. That's right, Peter?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, pretty cool. So without further ado, let's get going.
Let's get it cracked open.
Okay. So, Peter, 500 beers. Are you bored of them yet?
No, not at all.
Okay, brilliant.
We're just starting.
Okay. Do you know anything about Nils Oscar? Do you want me to tell you a little bit of what I know, of course, because, of course, this is a beer from my own sort of home patch, as it were.
Oh, nice. Well, I don't know really anything about the brewery.
Okay. I can give you a little bit of backstory, if you like, in terms of what Nils Oscar is. Started in 1996, actually, so they were kind of like one of the first wave of modern craft brewers. Pretty early on, so they're considered, I suppose it's fair to say, a bit like the sort of grandfathers of craft beer already, if you can say something in 1996 was old. But anyway, they actually moved into new facilities in about 2006 in Nyköping, which is about 100 clicks south of Stockholm. And what's pretty cool about these guys is that they make very high quality beers. I think they're one of those breweries, Peter, that basically if you see their name on a bottle of beer, then you're pretty safe to buy it because you know it's going to be high quality, it's going to be well made, and that's pretty much the hallmark of Nils Oscar. They have actually a pretty strong reputation for having a rather unusual house flavour in some of their beers. Their kettles are actually direct flame heated, and as you probably know, that can actually lead to hot spots, which means that some of the water is actually caramelised in different places, and you get this kind of almost smokiness to their beers. It'd be interesting to see whether it's in this one today, but anyway, that's kind of something to look out for if you try Nils Oscar beers, in the future. And as you said before, loads of hops in this beer. We've got Pacific Simcoe, we've got Cascade, Nelson Sauvin, Amarillo. So there's 2 New Zealand hops. And there's 4 US hops in there as well. So a real sort of powerhouse of an IPA, this one.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because of that hop blend.
Absolutely. And of course, I don't know about you, what's your favourite hop right now?
It's maybe, I think it's Nelson Sauvin or Citra.
Nelson Sauvin, exactly. Well, this has got both of those, and I totally agree with you. Nelson Sauvin, to me, is really, I get pretty excited in that, and there's bags loads of this. It's actually dry hopped with this hop, so it's going to be cool. So here it is.
Yeah,
what do you think of the colour?
Nice golden, fairly clear, clean looking orange colour.
Yep. Exactly, slightly off-white head there, isn't it? So it's quite a nice sort of smoker's teeth head. I like to say that sort of colour.
I'd agree.
Ooh, absolutely lovely.
Oh, that smells nice.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh? It's pretty
nice
good.
And hoppy. The first thing I like that sticks out to me is that that aroma you get with Nelson Sauvin, that kind of white grapey vinous aroma.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Or maybe a gooseberry.
Gooseberry, exactly. It's mimicking that Sauvignon Blanc grape there, so you're getting that gooseberry, and almost like a little bit of like blackcurrant leaves as well. So a little bit of a herby sort of vein to it as well in the nose.
Yeah. But also some like citrusy, American grapefruity aromas in there.
Can you get any of that smoke? Can you get any of that sort of burnt thing in the nose?
To be honest, I don't really get any of that smoky notes. It's basically the hops pulling through on this.
Yeah, yeah.
And also like a tropical fruit, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Nelson Sauvin is really lending that big tropical fruit punch there. So I think it's a really impressive nose on this beer.
Yeah, it smells really nice. It smells like a mix. It smells like a West Coast IPA hopped up with Nelson Sauvin.
Exactly, exactly. Should we try it?
Yeah, I'll just put a little more in here.
Mm.
Or no, you went back.
Mm.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty refreshing too.
Quite sweet, isn't it?
Mm. It's not as bitter. I wonder, do you know how many IBUs this is on?
Do you know, I don't, Pete. I was looking for that, but I don't. But I think just from the sensation of it, quite sweet up front and not as bitter as I remember it.
I would say maybe in the 70-60 range, maybe around that, because it's not that aggressively bitter. It's more on the fruity, sweet.
Yeah, exactly. I would say it really is quite sweet at the moment, sweeter than I recall. I'm getting a little bit of that caramelized sugar.
There's definitely some sugary flavors there.
Some sugary flavors. And again, it's almost like, in fact, if you leave it about now, it's sort of kicking in. It's a fairly dry sort of bitter finish, but I'm sure, as you say, if you put it up against, and I know that you reviewed lots of West Coast IPAs, and there you're getting a real sort of punch in the teeth. Here it is. And I think this is pretty much Nils Oscar in a nutshell. Refined, sophisticated, quite rounded, elegant sorts of beers. You know, they're not very aggressive. They're nicely constructed, and I think this is another example of it. It's not crazy American, but it is still a very pleasant drink in itself. Yeah,
it's definitely not like on the American side of hop. I wouldn't say English either. It's kind of in between because it's still quite more hoppy than like an English IPA.
Yeah.
The flavors in there, especially in the aftertaste, I get some like lightly resiny flavors, like a pine resin, but still the palate is dominated by that white grapey gooseberry flavor. I think some of the tropical fruity notes, citrus. And there's I also get like a bit of sweet malt, and as you say, like a caramelized sugar caramel flavor in there.
I'm getting a little bit of that sort of Nils Oscar. I think it's one of the things I've drunk so much of this, and I've drunk it on draft, and I've drunk a lot of Nils Oscar beers, and this kind of almost dry, slightly ashy sort of finish that I'm getting now. It's a bit like sort of putting tropical fruit on a barbecue for me. You're getting that sort of like barbecued pineapple and peach, if that makes any sense. But I think it's an impressive beer. It's great that we have beers like this now available over here in Sweden anyway, in the Systembolaget. So it's a widely available strong IPA, which is pretty cool actually. For the beer scene over here.
Yeah.
One other thing, Peter, that's pretty interesting about this brewery, something worth bearing in mind, is that they actually have their own maltery, their own maltings.
Nice.
So again, these malt flavors, they have very solid malt structures in most of their beers, and they use their own malts. They kiln their own malts, and there's not a lot of craft brewers in the world really that do that today. So that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, that's definitely nice. This being my first Nils Oscar beer, I went into this without any expectations really, because I didn't know much about the brewery at all. But it's really nice actually. If you're more of into like the in-your-face IPAs, I'm probably sure you wouldn't like it as much. But if you also can appreciate the more balanced ones, because this is really balanced, I think you would appreciate something like this too. I'll definitely be looking to purchase some of the Nils Oscar beers that arrived at my beer store recently, because it's pretty tasty.
Cool. And what would you give it on how do you rate your beers, Peter? What's it on a scale of?
Well, my scale is pretty big. It's 1 to 100.
1 to 100? Okay.
Yeah, I like
mine's a measly 1 to 5. Okay, so listen, so how are you going to rate this? What's your score?
I think it's a really good IPA, but it's not really up there with some of the best I've had. So I'm going to give it a really solid 80 out of 100. I think it's a really good IPA. Definitely worth picking up if you get Nils Oscar's beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think what I'm going to do is actually I rated this some time ago on Beer Sweden, my blog, and there I gave it 3.9 out of 5. I don't really see any reason to up that. Certainly, I think I'm going to stick with 3.9. I think it's, as you say, solid, well made, high quality, but perhaps lacks that little spark, that little bit of craziness that a lot of us are looking for in IPAs, of this strength.
Yeah. It just needs that little extra kick of hop flavor, and it would be up
I think
there.
that's pretty cool, actually. I think it's really fun to do some of, these collab tastings, and hopefully we're going to be able to do a few more. Thanks very much, Peter. Now, listen, if you want to actually dip into what Peter does, you should do Master of Hoppets. Peter, you got your own YouTube channel. As we said before, over 500 episodes there, so you've got a real back catalogue of stuff. You must have done some amazing beers. So I do encourage the Beer Sweden community to pop over there and have a look at what Peter's doing. Also got a Facebook page. I'll tell you what to do. If I do my little click thing, I put all the links up for there so you can actually go and see what Peter does. Peter, pleasure for tasting these beers with you. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully we can do it again next time, perhaps with one of those Danish beers that I hear that you brew over there. Until then, cheers and beers.
Cheers.
Cheers.